The Broncos have found their man, George Paton, the Broncos' new general manager. Hello, I'm Phil Milani alongside Sidney Jones and Eric Dalala. The search has come to an end. The Broncos coming to a decision here with George Paton, the longtime executive with the Minnesota Vikings. Eric, why do you think that Paton was the right fit for the Broncos?
Well, Phil, I think in short, among the candidates the Broncos interviewed, he was the most experienced. His fourth season right now as the assistant general manager and VP of player personnel for the Minnesota Vikings. They've had a lot of success there, Phil, with him working along Spielman, the general manager there. 3 playoff berths and 2 division titles since 2015. They've had 26 players they've acquired with a combined 56 Pro Bowl nods, and they haven't been afraid to make the big move, Phil. They went out and they got Sam Bradford. They signed Brett Favre. They traded for Jaron Allen. They've made moves again and again that showed they're committed to winning. And, I think Paton has had the role he needs to be prepared. He's worked in coordinating scouting with the pro and college departments. He oversees all of the transactions that they made. And for over 20 years, he's been at least a director in an NFL front office. So it seems like the time is right for him to take this next step.
Yeah, 24 total seasons in the NFL. And like you mentioned, both the college and pro scouting. And most recently, Eric, he traded Stephon Diggs to the Bills, but found a younger replacement essentially in Justin Jefferson. Sidney, I know that you had a chance to talk to some media people. What do you feel like Peyton's reputation is in the NFL?
Yeah, George Paton has a terrific reputation in the NFL. We've all talked to people around the NFL about him. And I talked to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport the other day, like you mentioned, Phil, and asked him his thoughts on Paton for this position. And, he had nothing but good things to say. He said he's a really intriguing candidate. Just based on his resume, like Eric mentioned, he's as qualified as a candidate as you could imagine for this position. And then NFL Network's Tom Pelissero, Eric, I know you talked to him the other day. He said that Paton is one of the universally respected personnel men in the entire NFL, and that no one has a bad word, to say about him. So there's no doubt that the Broncos got a guy who, has a skill set for this position, but also someone who has a fantastic reputation in the NFL, which is what you want in your general manager.
And Paton has been a hot name. He's turned down a lot of opportunities over the past several years. So a good get for the Broncos here. And it's a good thing, too, because he's going to have to make some tough decisions coming up. Eric, what do you feel like priority number one is for Paton?
Yeah, it's got to be figuring out what to do at the quarterback position. Obviously, Vic Fangio has spoken about Drew Lock and how he thinks he can be the guy. He's got a chance to start in 2021, but there are possible moves you can make out there, whether that's getting a young quarterback through the draft, whether that's acquiring a veteran through trade or free agency. Like I mentioned before, Paton has not been afraid with the Vikings to make the big move. So that's something to keep an eye on there at the quarterback position. And then, of course, does the team pick up Von Miller's team option, keep him in Denver, or extend him? And then what do you do with Justin Simmons? Does he play again on the franchise tag? Do you extend him? Does he hit free agency? A lot of choices here to make relatively quickly, too, Phil, probably by March or so, for the Broncos to decide some big name players in their futures.
And that's just what's going on with the Broncos roster. Sidney, the Broncos have the 9th overall pick in the draft. We'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, there's no doubt now that Paton has been hired, he's going to need to come in and hit the ground running. Like Eric said, he already has a long to-do list. But, on top of that, there's a lot of events coming up that he's going to need to start preparing for. The Senior Bowl, that's quickly approaching. I think that's on January 30th. So just at the end of January. And then, of course, there's the Combine in March. And, in addition to those events, he's going to need to start to assemble his staff too. So, yeah, he has a lot on his plate.
Yeah, he's going to have to get together on the same page with Vic Fangio, find out how they want to evaluate some young talent here and hit the ground running. Like you mentioned there, Sidney, a lot of work to be done to get this Broncos team back in playoff contention. But George Paton is the guy. He will be the Broncos' new general manager. That's going to do it for us. For Sidney Jones and Eric Dalal, I'm Phil Milani.